NASDAQ have declined 7 consecutive weeks, and the Dow is sitting on an 8-week losing streak. Big names like Target and Walmart are giving us dire warnings about the American consumer, and Wall Street banks are raising the odds of a recession. So how low will we go? Hi, everyone. I'm Veronica Dudo, and welcome to Buy, Hold, Sell. Let's bring in the traders. Tobin Smith, Todd Schoenberger, Chris Markowski of Markowski Investments, and special guest Winnie Sun of Sun Group Wealth Partners. Okay, Toby, do you think we hit the bottom this week in the S&P and NASDAQ?
You know, if people have been listening to us for the last 4 weeks, they probably would have saved about 25% of their retirement funds. And the reason is very simple. There's a complete disconnect between what's actually happening in the real economy and what people like me who wear $4,000 suits do at Wall Street. For some reason, when Wall Street talks, they say how well off the American consumer is, but they don't differentiate between the top 25 or 30%, which absolutely has discretionary money, and the bottom 66% that do not. And we now, if you haven't figured that out yet, look at Walmart, look at Target, look at Ross stores, look at any of these of this complex where people are not buying discretionary goods anymore. They're just buying, their basic deal. So if you extrapolate that, I know that's a big word for you, Todd. If you extrapolate that over the entire economy, then it tells you 3 things. Number one, if auto loans, subprime auto loans are now getting barfed up, if mortgages rates are getting to the point and rents that we're having we're starting to have foreclosures and people being kicked out of their homes, blah, blah, blah. If you do the math, we are in a recession in the bottom 70% of the economy, and the top 30% of the economy will be in a recession by the first quarter of the year.
That's right.
We know that. We know that because trucking's down, transportation's down, retail's down. I mean, what else do you need?
Todd, the sell-off intensifies on Wall Street. Give us your assessment.
Yeah, it is. It's only going to continue into the summer and probably for the rest of the year. Look, you have most Americans right now that actually believe we are in a deep recession. When they go out and they're trying to fill up their gas tank or they're going to the grocery store, they just can't make ends meet. We saw that from the most recent report in the first quarter of how much consumer debt has actually ballooned up. I mean, we're looking at $16 trillion right now, guys. And when you start thinking about just having to put money on your credit card just to feed your family, it's not good. And that trickle-down effect is going to impact stocks. So right now, you're looking at a bear market. You're looking at a prolonged bear market. I just don't see how we're ever going to recover this year. And next year is looking just as dismal. It's just not good, guys.
So a lot of effects on Wall Street and Main Street. Winnie, do you think we've seen the full impact yet?
Absolutely not, Veronica. Thanks so much for having me. I think, what we talked about earlier, absolutely things are going to get worse before they're going to be better. But I want to share these words. This is from Thomas Edison. And he said, good fortune is what happens when opportunity meets with planning. And I think today, more than ever, we know the importance of planning. In fact, I shared this just earlier on Twitter. We do know that, of course, we're in bear market territory now in the S&P. Following not too long ago, we were already in the bear market and the NASDAQ. So the investor today is feeling very, very overwhelmed. They're already feeling like they don't know what's going on. But there's a lot of things that we can't dismiss. Absolutely, inflation is an issue, but I continue to talk about this on social media until we get, more of this COVID behind us. We can actually expect this to repeat because things are not back to normal as much as we would like to think they are. I mean, look at today. We're all joining from different places of the country. We're not in one space yet. Until that happens, we're never going to get that far ahead.
Chris, what are you telling clients?
Same thing I always tell them. This, you own quality and you're going to deal with points in time like this. I've been doing it for 3 decades. This is not the first rodeo that my clients have been on. And you own high quality companies that pay you to own them. Again, great way to make money, compounding the royal road to riches. You're going to have to ride these things through. Some of the areas of our portfolios that have done well with energy. Now we're starting to take some profits there, maybe reallocating some of the things that have backed off to some degree. Exactly the opposite what we're doing the past couple of years. So again, trying to time when the market bottom is going to hit. I'm not very good at that. Never been very good at that. Owning high quality companies, that's what we do.
The biggest warning sign I saw out there, guys, and Toby, I mean to interrupt you, but once we saw Target and we saw Walmart and their numbers were awful. And that's backwards looking. Then you start looking at the forward guidance. That is really critical because the American consumer is strapped right now. Like you said earlier, they're out buying staples, but they're not buying anything else. And then you have companies out there, just the ancillary part of this. Look at John Deere. John Deere down 14% on Friday. That's awful when you start thinking about higher food costs, higher gas costs. Chris is right. You sell into the strength and energy, but realistically, for all the other stocks that are out there, especially consumer discretionary, you got to stay far away from them and stay away from them probably for the next 12 months at least.
So there's only been one bear market in the past 50 years, the crash in 1987 that was not accompanied by a recession. Toby, you're saying it's already here upon us. So there's really no shot of that happening in this scenario?
Yeah, well, remember, I've come up with this term, it's like from crypto because I'm a crypto bro. Look at my diamond eyes. The idea that the Fed has done a rug pull on the stock market. Remember, for the last
very technical. Very technical. There's 11 years where they made interest zero. It's called ZIRP, ZIRP. I just love that. And then Bernanke came up with the idea that if they go into the bond market and buy all the bonds available, they're going to take those rates down. And that was called quantitative easing. Now they've done a rug pull on that. And we have artificially high stocks. Mark, I hear what you're saying, buy high quality and go through the thing. I don't run my money that way. I don't run our managed accounts that way. We're looking for total return. When Jay Powell came out in December late and said, okay, we screwed up, then we were able to switch for most of the technology. We only had like 20% anyway. We're 100% in what I'm calling now the de-Russification complex around the world. Great word.
We're up 80%, 82% for the year. We're not selling any of our energy. We're going to get some pullbacks because those are the only places people have made money. But we're going to buy the dip in the energy complex from shippers to drillers. And we're going to advise people, and we do, to sell the rip on these bear market rallies that we're going to get. Because remember, only 9 stocks actually, comprise 56% of the entire NASDAQ and 45% of the S&P. It's never happened before. And every dollar that comes out of the market, 46 or 52% of that dollar goes out of those 10 stocks. And that's a recipe for disaster. They have to come down to the point that they're stupid cheap, and they are not stupid cheap.
So, Winnie, we did hear Fed Chair Jerome Powell talk about a softish landing. What exactly does that mean? And do you think it's possible?
I don't know. I think to be honest with you, I think the Fed is way more optimistic than I am currently. I think we got a lot of room to go before I think his eye is on a 2% inflation rate. I feel like that's like, that's like unicorns being born out of this market. I don't know. I don't know what to expect right now. I think a lot of investors today are very hesitant to believe what's coming out of the Fed. And that's not only from a financial standpoint, but government standpoint, political standpoint, you name it right now. Investors are really worried. And I think it goes across the spectrum. We were certainly feeling a lot of weakness in, the households where they're very dependent on, dual income or, children being back in school and things being back to normal. But now this market and this economy, it's affecting everybody, not just here in the United States, but globally as well. So as much as we like to think that we're done with, the volatility of the market, I would agree with everybody on the panel today. There's no way. We've got way more room to go.
Yeah.
All right. We'll have to leave it there. Great conversation, everyone. And thank you for joining us today, Winnie.
Thank you for having me.
We hope to have you back soon. Coming up next on Buy, Hold, Sell, big box retailers are suddenly nervous about the American consumer, but are their fears overblown? Stay tuned to find out. Buy, Hold, Sell Live, brought to you by Transformity Research.
Hey friends, investor friends, this is Tobin Smith. I just show this if you may remember me from my 25 years on business TV, but it's not about me, brothers and sisters. It is about this. We are about 5 times the average, stock average, over the last 2 years. But more importantly, this year, we're up about 67% in our portfolios, while the S&P is down, 12% and going deeper. And the NASDAQ's down 25% and going deeper. Let me ask you this. Are you tired of losing money? Because right now, we forecast not only a big recession in 2023, but we think we can do this again. We think it could be up again another 50 to 60% by being in the right place, the right stocks, and at the right time. That's what we're doing right now. So join us, transformativeresearch.com. Get on our free newsletter, transformativeresearch.com. Join us for free and stop losing money.
If you like Buy, Hold, Sell Live, be sure to smash the like button.
Lights, cameras, connectivity to every kind of screen, with 6 broadcast studios and experts ready to help plan the event. Big Wig Media's broadcast center at the Willard is the ideal headquarters to host your virtual meetings and video conferences. Let's get started.
Welcome back. Retail stocks crashed this week as rising costs overtook bellwether companies like Target and Walmart off guard and surprised many on Wall Street. But Todd, you think the markets are underestimating the resiliency of the American consumer?
Well, that's the thing, because we've been talking about this for years. I mean, Toby and I going back in our television history, and when we looked at American consumers, we could always say that, yeah, that resiliency, they're very strong. They're going to always succeed. They're always going to bounce back. Right now, though, I'm not so sure. I mean, once we heard these earnings reports out of Walmart and Target, and then they're giving us the backwards story, then they start talking about what's forward. You can't paint that picture. And so I think what the issue is, from an optimistic standpoint, I'm just not there right now. So I'm not sure. It is overblown. I am very concerned, especially when I only saw 3% growth from the comparables on Target year over year. I just don't see it happening right now for the second half of the year.
Now, Toby, it's clear that transportation costs are impacting these big box retailers. Where do we go from here?
Well, a couple of things. Remember, we had that pandemic. Does anybody remember that? And all of this goods services were pulled forward. In other words, we bought goods. We are a 70% consumer economy, yet for 18 months, we were a 70% goods economy. That's why the supply chain got all screwed up. We were never made to do that. And then if you looked at the sales, whether it's Best Buy or Ross stores or, any of these guys, Target, et cetera, they were selling a lot of stuff, discretionary stuff, not food, not vegetables, et cetera. Now that's completely flipped. So you have to really take the last 28 months out of the equation and now jump into today. And in today, we have 7% quote unquote inflation. However, if you measure it the way we used to back when Todd was in diapers and I was just first on Wall Street, if you use the same way we measured inflation then, we're at 16% inflation. So don't tell me that this is transitory. They don't anymore. Don't tell me that that's not just crushing the bottom 66% of households in the United States, which, by the way, make about $60,000 gross and have about $400 of money in the checking account, except for when they got $7,000 of stimmy checks. So that economy is hunkered down. We're already in a recession in the bottom 70% of our population. So don't tell me that the American consumer is doing all great. They are not.
So, Chris, what do you think? Because coming up, it's going to be back to school sales and, of course, all of the merchandise for the holidays. Do you think these retail stocks rebound anytime soon?
Well, I think it's going to be a long slog for them. I think the aspects too that I mentioned that I agree with is there's no more child tax credit. I doubt we're going to see any Build Back Better. So the checks aren't going to be flying out the door to help out with anybody, because that most certainly helped boost everybody. That was one of the greatest stimulus packages for big box stores ever, was those stimulus checks and the child tax credret. And these companies got to deal with that. And you obviously got the headwinds with higher energy costs. Unless we see a change in that. And obviously, you don't see much coming out of this administration in regards to helping when it comes out or changing their position. And actually, I think I kind of like this. I think they want it. It's by design. They like these higher energy costs. It's going to be difficult for them moving forward.
with that, and that's a whole other topic, though, for another show. But I completely agree with that. That I do think that this is by design. You know,
do you remember Stephen Chu? Remember Obama's energy secretary said he wanted our gasoline prices to be commensurate with Europe's. Well, they're paying about $10 a gallon now. We're not there yet, but we're on our way.
Yeah, maybe by Labor Day. Yeah. So, but listen, Veronica, real quick, you did bring up about inventory. You know, back to school season starting soon. You brought up a good point with then you get the holiday shopping season, all that inventory. The biggest issue that, especially with Target, is inventory control. They have more product that's actually behind the wall in the back. And as a result, there are no cash registers in the back. So the revenues are getting crushed that way. And plus, from the supply side disruption, they actually are still receiving merchandise. It might be Valentine's merchandise. So now you're going to have this big influx of products coming in for back to school, Christmas. What do you do with all of this stuff? And if you go around to these places, these big box retailers, you see all these trailers that are sitting out in the parking lots. They're filled with stuff that's not being sold right now. That inventory issue is a huge issue, and I don't think they're able to solve that anytime soon. And that will have a negative impact on the stocks going forward.
Yeah, remember that our GDP in the first quarter was down 1.5%. And it was tied almost 90% to the fact that they'd ordered too much stuff already. And so in the first quarter of this year, guess what? They stopped ordering. And when you stopped ordering new stuff, that's already happened, Todd. It's just going to get worse. You're right.
Right.
And we look at shipping charges. If you look at the trucking industry and the stocks, they're down 30%. That tells you something. Number one is they're getting killed by diesel if they can find it. Number two, everybody's bought everything they can. We had the giant pull forward of a historic basis where we pulled something like $18 trillion worth of goods and services and software and everything else. We pulled it all forward in 24 months. Now we got too much. And that reality, then plus your mortgage rates is higher and your credit card rate and your gas prices. It's a toxic brew. We've never had it before. And for someone to step in and say, oh, yeah, I'm looking at my model and I think that we're not going to have a recession. They do not live in the real world. They live in New York. And Lincoln picks them up in the morning and takes them to the office. Okay.
So we definitely.
But I do like the idea, though, the mortgage rates going up, because then eventually a disconnect will obviously be this function of 30-year mortgage, a function of affordability. Obviously, the principal on these homes are going to have to come down, which is necessary. Now, in hot markets around the country, especially in places like Florida, they're still not able to put up houses because they still can't get their stuff yet. And again, Biden can do a little bit about that if he got rid of all the ridiculous tariffs that we have out there. That would be helpful and obviously helping that issue and getting housing costs down. But I think that's going to take some air out of the whole housing bubble, which could be helpful.
Sure, there's a lot of pressure on the consumer. So we have these geopolitical issues, of course, internationally. We have record high inflation, interest rates are rising. And again, we're going to get more into oil and gas and some of those restaurant stocks. But is this potentially a time to go fishing with some of the carnage? Toby, are you looking to think that potentially you might tell your clients to buy some of these retail stocks?
Well, we have a list of, we call the dumpster diving, the baby thrown out the bathwater. and to Mark's point, if I can buy a company that I know has secular, meaning non-cyclical growth over the next 5 years, that's locked in about 20% because their business model is structured so they make 80% profit margins, those are the companies I want to dip.
Are there any?
Did I say that?
Are there any out there?
Yeah, they are. They're actually called enterprise software companies. For instance, you cannot run a business today without DocuSign. You cannot run a business without ServiceNow. It's just that the stocks, because of the everything goes up, bubble, just got to ridiculous values. They will come down. When those come down, now those are great stocks with, moats against competition, et cetera, et cetera. But would I buy a retail business with, 6% profit margins and net losses built up for the next 2 years? Hell no.
All right. Thanks, guys. If you've been out to eat lately, it's taking a bite out of your wallet. But is now really the time to be increasing your appetite for restaurant stocks? Stay tuned to find out. Buy, hold, sell, brought to you by Crosscheck Management. Hi, Hi, everyone. I'm Veronica Dudo, and welcome to Buy,
Hold, Sell. If you have the Russians that are going into Ukraine, the Americans and the Germans and everyone else in Europe is going to say, hell no.
If Russia doing things, logically was their MO, I'd agree with you. Yeah, Todd, why don't you get him on a phone call right now? Hello.
Financial news TV, just the way you like it. Fast-paced, unadulterated, in-your-face, rock and roll style. Join us next time on Buy, Hold, Sell Live.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to remember all that. I can't even remember. Oh, God. Yeah, well, I want you to, oh, my God. Fast-paced, no, oh, sorry.
Take one.
Fast-paced, no holds barred, in-your-face rock and roll style.
Woohoo! Let's kick some ass.
I want you to smash that like button.
Track, cue, dissolve.
Good morning and welcome
from Bigwig Studios. From the Bigwig Media Studio.
Bigwig Media's broadcast center at the Willard is the ideal headquarters to host your virtual meetings and video conferences.
Kudos to our team who's running around behind the cameras.
What I liked about working with Bigwig Media was you guys are the experts.
Our industry pros have you covered. Let's get started.
Welcome back. Shares of restaurant companies have lost nearly a quarter of their value so far this year amid higher interest rates and recession fears. But Todd, you say there are a few winners for investors to carve into. Explain.
Yeah, not many. I mean, you like that. And so you look at some of these stocks right now, McDonald's, Wendy's, Yum Brands with Taco Bell, they're all down big. I mean, you have even Chipotle is down, I believe it's 60% right now. So from their 52-week high. So when you start looking at these figures, and it's common sense. You wouldn't think that, okay, higher food costs, you're not going to be able to go out, you're not going to be able to spend your money, and you won't have the discretionary income. There are a couple out there, actually, though. Buffalo Wild Wings is up for the year. So you have a couple that are still lingering and still showing some profit potential. I don't know if it's going to hold, but there are some nitpicky spots that if you really want to start researching, you might find some winners.
Toby,
well,
your thoughts?
That's a glowing endorsement, Todd. Gee, I don't know if it's going to hold or not, but dude, come on.
Well,
man.
I'm trying to be optimistic, Toby. I'm trying to be optimistic for you. I don't see anything out there.
Yeah, I went to a Five Guys restaurant, which I love it from being back from D.C. Hamburgers, right? They had a picture on the wall of the award they won like 3 years ago for the best burger. It was $3.99. I walk up to the counter, and they say, "Yeah, Mr. Smith, that'll be $11.39." And I was just my point is there's one company called Restaurant Brands, and Restaurant Brands owns a number of sub-brands. We're looking at them because they're in the right place. The right place for food right now is good for you food. It's faster food, but it's good for you. And then secondarily are sort of very small niches. They have that. So Restaurant Brands, I'm not ready to buy now, but when they puke up their numbers and say how bad things are, then it's time. That's when you want to buy restaurants. It's when the bottom of the business cycle, everything's horrible. The prices are on the stock's 80% down, and we've made a lot of money over the years. Chipotle was our favorite one in the financial crisis. I love Chipotle. I would buy it. I don't care what price it is, but it was fun to buy it 80% lower than it was. And that's what you got to do with restaurants because they're ultra cyclical and they hate inflation. Besides that, they're great investments.
So, Chris, we saw, especially coming out of the pandemic, a lot of people were ordering out. They wanted things to go. Yeah. We saw some states lift laws and allow alcohol in containers to be able to be served. Where do you see this going?
Obviously, I think the whole COVID picture, even though it's got this recent, they're calling it fifth wave. I do think that people are tired of it. Again, it's anecdotal, but I do have a son in college, and I'm traveling around lacrosse tournaments and going to lacrosse games, and everybody out there needing workers wherever we go. But the funny thing is, you mentioned Chipotle. After the end of the game, the kids are done. All the college kids, what do they want? They want Chipotle. I look at my credit card.
Absolutely,
Chipotle. You know what's interesting too is that they're actually using some technology, actually utilizing robots to make the chips now. They're trying to obviously save themselves some money. That's a great thing. Honestly, we talk about recessions. Recessions, to me, they act as almost like the lymphatic system of the human body. You get rid of the gunk. And companies that are smart come out of them, the old John Candy and Stripes, lean, mean fighting machines. And that's what you got to look for.
So, Todd, Memorial Day weekend kicks off the unofficial start to summer. Do you think people will be traveling more and potentially rallying behind restaurants and potentially seeing those rise?
Yeah, I think, there's pent up demand, obviously. There's pent up, and there's actually, that's one of the biggest reasons, or not one of the biggest reasons, but it's another reason for higher food costs right now because people are out. Chris mentioned about the pandemic. He's right. Now here we are, we're traveling. He's going around to lacrosse tournaments. I'm doing the same exact thing, and Toby knows it too. And every place we go, my sons, we're going to Panera Bread. We're going to the Chipotle or a Chick-fil-A. You're trying to find these spots, and there is a higher cost, but you got to eat. And so, you're out and about. You're going to be stopping. You're going to be doing some things right now. And I could definitely see some winners out there.
Right, but I'll tell you this though. The restaurants, you may be going to them, Todd, but the restaurants are losing money, number one. Number two, their labor costs are almost twice as much as they used to be. In the restaurant business, you take your food costs, you multiply by 3, that's your price. Well, they can't keep multiplying by 3. The prices keep going up. They can't change. I will tell you this. At the PGA tournament this weekend, a friend was there. He ordered just a Michelob beer, those little tall boys. It was $27.
What?
For a Michelob.
We call that Yankee Stadium, for crying out loud. That's nothing new.
Right, you're right, Chris.
Okay.
So sticker shock.
Okay, everybody's feeling the squeeze. Thanks, gentlemen. For the first time in American history, every state is averaging over $4 for a gallon of gas. Do the higher prices mean profits for big oil companies? We find out after the break.
Hey friends, investor friends, this is Tobin Smith. I just show this if you may remember me from my 25 years on business TV, but it's not about me, brothers and sisters. It is about this. We are about 5 times the average, stock average, over the last 2 years, but more importantly, this year, we're up about 67% in our portfolios, while the S&P is down, 12% and going deeper. And the NASDAQ's down 25% and going deeper. Let me ask you this. Are you tired of losing money? Because right now, we forecast not only a big recession in 2023, but we think we can do this again. We think it could be up again another 50 to 60% by being in the right place, the right stocks, and at the right time. That's what we're doing right now. So join us, transformativeresearch.com. Get on our free newsletter, transformativeresearch.com. Join us for free and stop losing money.
Hi, everyone. I'm Veronica Dudo, and welcome to Buy,
Hold, Sell. If you have the Russians that are going into Ukraine, the Americans and the Germans and everyone else in Europe is going to say, hell no.
If Russia doing things, logically was their MO, I'd agree with you. Yeah, Todd, why don't you get him on a phone call right now? Hello, you.
The national average for a gallon of gas hit a new all-time high this week ahead of the summer driving season that kicks off next week, and prices are only going higher. Chris, do the higher prices give investors a bullish signal for big oil stocks?
They were doing pretty darn well. That's for sure. And again, whenever things starts doing really darn well, I always like taking. That's basically how we manage our money. Is we like to rotate assets and obviously take some profits off the table. But yeah, basically it's to the moon at this point in time, unless of course you get a change in direction. But even if that's the case, we start putting pipelines in. We start getting rid of ridiculous regulations. I know. I'm hoping I'm dreaming over here. I think what was it? Price of carbon under Trump was $7 for I think a ton, and now it's over $50 with Biden. It makes it very, very difficult.
You hear that, Toby?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, hang on, Chris. Just not to burst your bubble or anything. Let's do three things. Number one, big oil doesn't sell any freaking gasoline. It's refiners who make refinery, but they don't sell any gasoline. It's only gas stations that sell gasoline. Okay, it's number one. Number two, the way that you get lower prices.
There's a ripple effect.
Oh, yeah, here's the ripple effect. Look. Second, the other issue is that, politics, schmaltics. The left-wing people are crazy. We should have 3 pipelines out of the Marcellus Shale for natural gas. We don't, blah, blah, blah. But even if we started on that tomorrow, and it was all green, it would take 6 years to build those things. Even if we started 1,000 drill rigs, which we do not have anymore, and started drilling all over the place, we wouldn't see oil for or natural gas, more important, for another 12 to 14 months.
I understand that. The price of oil is traded on a market, and there's obviously all sorts of other issues that are pricing into it. If a hurricane pops up in the Gulf of Mexico, it might not hit, but again, the price of oil is going to go up in anticipation of that. It's the whole idea what's going to have down the road. If you're going to be much more difficult on people that are making oil producers out there, obviously it's going to affect the price of oil because it's based upon what they're paying down the road. It's futures.
And Toby, your point is noted, but I mean, at some point, don't you think we have to start? I mean, for now, at least moving forward to the future. So if 6 years ago we started, maybe we wouldn't be in this situation.
Good point.
Well, look, there's two issues here. Demand destruction, the cure for any energy product of high prices is high prices, because everybody used to jump in and drill more and it would price down. Look at I was voted the #1 energy analyst in 2004, okay? We understand this marketplace. But it's different now because of de-Russification. Russia still does 14% of the export of oil. Natural gas, they're doing 24%. If you're going to de-Russify your economy, all the rules are out, Chris. None of the rules apply.
But Toby, don't you think that they're going to be doing the same thing that Mark Rich used to do there, and they're going to be selling that oil at a discount, $30, $40 a barrel, whatever it may be, to India, and whoever take it. I mean, you got energy situation, socialist country in Sri Lanka. They can't get any energy. You don't think that they're going to call up Vladimir Putin and say, please sell us some on the slide?
They are, Chris. They're doing it already. They're doing it already. They're buying it for 40% off. But that doesn't help me. That doesn't help the American consumer. You're talking about apples and oranges. The issue is for the Western economies in Cold War 2.0, by the way, that we're going to have to depend on ourselves. Energy has been weaponized by Russia. And that never happened for the last 60 years.
But there's still a finite amount of money, and they're still pumping the oil out of the ground, and it's just going in a different direction where you're going to have to adjust some of these, supply issues. Kind of like, all right, we're not getting the natural gas from Russia anymore, so we got to ship them liquefied natural gas. So I mean, it's still out there. That's still being produced.
Right, but the price is determined by the marginal buyer. The marginal buyer is the person who does not care about price, and right now that's Europe. So as long as I can buy literally $100 million worth of LNG, put it on a boat and send it to Europe, to Germany and Rotterdam, and make $350 million off of that, I'm going to continue to do that. And because we have no more excess supply, we have to have demand destruction. And demand destruction means prices have to go a lot higher, and a big recession has to happen so people lose jobs, etc. Other than that, I'm sorry, Chris, If you look at the energy futures, they're pricing a little lower pricing, but they're pricing prices down to $85 or $90. That is, that's not $30 oil as what you usually get in a recession.
And we're also going to see Shanghai start to open up. Todd, how will that affect this very complicated market?
Ooh, that's going to send oil prices much higher. And you have to, if they start opening up, and don't forget, hurricane season is we're on the brink of that. So if you have a Cat 5 or a Cat 4 going into the Gulf, you're going to see prices spike there too. There will be a premium. But Toby, here's the thing: if are these shovel-ready jobs? Is that what when we start building these pipelines?
No. There's literally almost 60% of the oil direct workers have left the industry. Do you know where they've gone? They've gone to Amazon. They're making $22 an hour. They get to work in air conditioning. They get stock options, free lunch. Yeah. If you've ever been in oil derrick, I know you have, Todd, in the middle of Texas at 110 degrees in the summertime, and you have to live out there 7 days a week.
In the shade.
We could not start 100 wells today. But here's this, for all you right-wingers out there. Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, came up with this idea that if they just sent $400 to every one of the citizens, that would help them with their gasoline prices. Doesn't understand economics 101. All he's going to do is create more demand, which is going to make prices go up. I mean,
all right.
You cannot make that up. You
Great
cannot make that up.
conversation, guys.
Love it.
Software stocks are getting pummeled even harder than the rest of the tech market. So is now the time to buy? Our tech guru, Tobin Smith, will let us know after the break. Buy, Hold, Sell Live, brought to you by Transformity Research.
Hey friends, investor friends, this is Tobin Smith. I just show this if you may remember me from my 25 years on business TV, but it's not about me, brothers and sisters. It is about this. We are about 5 times the average, stock average, over the last 2 years, but more importantly, this year, we're up about 67% in our portfolios, while the S&P is down, 12% and going deeper. And the Nasdaq's down 25% and going deeper. Let me ask you this. Are you tired of losing money? Because right now we forecast not only a big recession in 2023, but we think we can do this again. We think it could be up again another 50 to 60% by being in the right place, the right stocks, and at the right time. That's what we're doing right now. So join us, transformityresearch.com. Get on our free newsletter, transformityresearch.com. Join us for free and stop losing money.
If you like Buy, Hold, Sell Live, be sure to smash the like button.
Lights, cameras, connectivity to every kind of screen, with 6 broadcast studios and experts ready to help plan the event. Big Wig Media's broadcast center at the Willard is the ideal headquarters to host your virtual meetings and video conferences. Let's get started.
Software stocks were investor favorites throughout the pandemic, but not any longer. Toby, you're an expert when it comes to finding tech profits for investors. What are you telling clients these days?
Well, the number one thing is to build a list in a bear market, particularly a bear market that is preceding a recession. High-flying tech stocks are the ones that come down the most. We're really just like the dot-com crash in 2001, 2003. In that time, though, we built a list of software companies that had very high margins, 80% or more, meaning that they get $1 in, they got 80% of gross profit, that are very sticky, that companies can't do without. We found a little company called Salesforce at that time, and it's, only up about 25,000%. So if you take this phone, right, and you dial into something, or you want to get some information, or you're on your computer and you're checking in, and then they say, can we send you a text to make sure this is you? The company that makes that happen is called Twilio. Twilio is right behind all of the apps that you use, and you can't replace it. You just cannot replace it. Same thing with Mongo, like Sheriff Bart, right? Mongo software database. Mongo is the database behind all of those apps you use. And those are two companies that are now got religion and are not, they've been growing 40, 50% a year for 10 years, but they were spending a boatload of money. Now they've both got religion. They're now taking their spending down to the point where they actually make cash flow. It's a shocking concept. And I think when they come down another 20 to 30%, you could leg into them. And the way you do it as a money manager is you say, here's the size I want to own in this, and I'm going to do it sort of one quarter, unless it really dropped and I just fell. Because you can own those for the next 3 to 5 years, Veronica, and I guarantee you, unless we hit by a lightning and a meteor, they're going to be worth more money.
Yeah.
Todd, do you think software firms are taking a hit because of high interest rates and then a reversal from all of the COVID-related online activity?
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, people, you want them back in the office. So here we are. We're connected via Zoom. We're all over the country right now. But Zoom has been one of those companies, the stock has been getting hammered because here we are where people are back in the office. There's not that need for it.
Getting hammered? It's down 80%, Todd. That's more than hammered.
Hey, I'm just trying to be nice about it, Toby. I didn't want you to feel bad going into the weekend. But listen, you can't, and DocuSign, you brought up DocuSign earlier. DocuSign is actually one of those companies that there is a need for it right now, but that's another stock that's gotten hammered. Out of all of these, though, for all of the tech companies, the software companies were the favorites or the darlings on Wall Street. They just aren't anymore. The question is, when do you start buying those stocks right now? Probably soon, but not right now.
Chris, do you think we could see these stocks fall even further?
No, I like well, of course, they could fall further. And I like the philosophy of obviously kind of picking and choosing and seeing which ones are going to make it. If you want to go back to the 1990s, did I buy Amazon when it first went to $400 a share when they put that ridiculous thing on it? No, it just sold books. But eventually it changed business, which made it obviously a much more viable internet retailer. But you could have picked one. It was CD Now and Pets.com. There's so many companies out there that, again, been spending like crazy. They haven't been frugal. I don't like companies like that. You can sit and you can wait. You can see which ones are going to start doing it right, which ones are going to be able to cut costs. You can actually start valuing. Back then, you could actually look at the burn rate because they'd already gone public. It's different. You know, the past 10, 15 years after Sarbanes-Oxley, they had all this venture capital where they ladder these things up and most people can't get in at the bottom. And a lot of these things were extraordinarily overvalued, much worse than it was back during the 1990s, quite frankly.
You know what? You're right about that. You know what? iShares has a great ETF. It's a tech software sector ETF. Down big. I think it's down 40% this year so far. That's another one, like you said, Chris. So you see that thing dropping a little bit further. Might be one of those opportunities for investors to really jump in on, especially if you could get it at a steeper discount than where it is right now.
Yeah, the cloud computing is not going anywhere. AI, artificial intelligence, is going to be the next big data center. And so you can do that. But the point is they're so ridiculously priced. Remember, stocks went up 7% for 30 years. All of a sudden, they went up 17%. You know, you have to give that back. You have to go back to normal, reasonable normal before you go after these things. Because I guarantee you, you know, all the YOLO, FOMO, diamond hands, whatever shizzle going on there, all those people were buying the dip on friggin' Shopify at $1,300. $900, $700. It's now $300. It's probably worth $100. So don't kid yourself that you can, to Chris's point, it's not about timing. It's about finding that niche that has super competitive advantage and letting the price come back. And when it gets down to normal, then you take a bite. And then you hope, if you're an investor, that it actually goes down, because if you're going to use a 3 to 5 year horizon. We've just been traders and momentum investors for the last 10 years because nothing went down.
All right.
And you got to change your style.
Trying to find that ebb and flow of the markets. All right, fantastic discussion, gentlemen. Coming up next, it's time to make some money. Buy, hold, sell, brought to you by Crosscheck Management. Hi, everyone. I'm Veronica Dudo, and welcome to Buy,
Hold, Sell. If you have the Russians that are going into Ukraine, the Americans and the Germans and everyone else in Europe is going to say, hell no.
If Russia doing things, logically was their MO, I'd agree with you.
Yeah, Todd, why don't you get him on a phone call right now? Hello, you.
Financial news TV just the way you like it. Fast-paced, unadulterated, in-your-face, rock and roll style. Join us next time on Buy, Hold, Sell Live.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to remember all that. I can't even remember. Oh, God. Yeah, well, that does. I want you to, oh, my God. Fast-paced, no, oh, sorry.
Take one.
Fast-paced, no holds barred, in-your-face, rock and roll style.
Woohoo! Let's kick some ass.
I want you to smash that like button.
Track, cue, dissolve.
Good morning and welcome
From Bigwig Studios. From the Bigwig Media Studio.
Bigwig Media's broadcast center at the Willard is the ideal headquarters to host your virtual meetings and video conferences.
Kudos to our team who's running around behind the cameras.
What I liked about working with Bigwig Media was you guys are the experts.
Our industry pros have you covered. Let's get started.
Predictions? Let's make some money. Toby, what's your buy, hold, sell this week?
All right, well, I'm buying Grindrod. It's another one of the shippers that generates about a 22% dividend. Every week I've given you one, and every one of them are up about 25%. So do this again. For the hold, I'm still holding cash. In other words, cash is a strategy in a bear market, and don't let anybody convince you that we're not in a historic bear market since we had a historic 12-year run-up. And then on sell, I'm selling Capital One Financial. Capital One is big in the subprime lending business, but the numbers that we got, man, they're going to be in rough shape. So I don't want to be anywhere near subprime lending the way I didn't want to be subprime mortgages. Okay,
Todd?
Yeah, right now, we were just talking about restaurant stocks. My buy is a company called Sweet Green. They offer casual salads. It's a casual salad place, mainly in the South. You see these. I'm really looking for a restaurant that's not going to be focused on things like meat, steaks, and seeing those rising costs as well. Plus, you really don't need a tremendous amount of labor for someone to put together a salad. You just chop up the vegetables and you do it there. But that seems to be a big winner right now. It's actually one of the stocks from the restaurant industry that actually is up this year. So I highly recommend that.
I love them.
You are right about they're great. And you're right about the cash. Look for the online savings accounts. Marcus from Goldman Sachs just lifted their savings rate again this week. And as interest rates go up, they're always going to be the first ones. They're the category killer that's out there right now. You definitely want to look at that type of place. Definitely want to park your cash, but also try to get your highest yield possible. And selling right now, I got to stick with Target right now. I just am very concerned with their inventory issues and plus all of the numbers that they came out. Brian Cornell during the analyst call, he said he was surprised by the $1 billion in freight costs. So it's like, what are you living under a rock? How do you not know that? Yeah. So I mean that's a real how are you surprised by it? I mean, nobody was surprised by that. And he actually is quite dismal going down the line. That's a stock you probably want to stay away from. So if you're owning it right now, sell it.
All right, Chris, what's your buy, hold, sell this week?
Well, I'm not a total return guy because I'm a registered investment advisor. So I got a zillion clients out there all over the country. So basically a little bit different for me. I'm going to be scaling back into Apple to some degree because it's come down. It's been worked great for me. Its dividend is it's still under 1%. But again, I still think that that's going to be one that you're going to come out 2 to 3, 4 years down the road. And that's my time frame for my clients. It's a little bit different. I do agree with taking some profits. I'm going to do some selling. Love energy. But again, it's done so well. There's nothing wrong with taking a little bit off the top and going into cash and then waiting to bite back in when things turn. Because I do think it's going to continue to be volatile. And this is where you want to take advantage and maybe do a little bit of cut here, snip here when it comes to your portfolio.
All right. Well, that does it for another edition of Buy, Hold, Sell. Thank you to our guests, Chris Markowski and Winnie Sun, for joining us today. And a special thank you to our viewers for watching. On behalf of all of us at Buy, Hold, Sell, have a great weekend and enjoy the semifinals of the NCAA Men's Lacrosse Tournament. Take care.
Oh, yeah. I got it. I'm recording it now.
Go the underdog. Delaware. Go Delaware.
Go Maryland.